Alright, guys. I'm going to do a video tonight that I'm assuming a handful of people would be interested in. And I'm mostly doing it because I've reviewed a handful of bookshelf speakers so far. And, I obviously don't plan on keeping them all. I don't have uses for all of them. So before I let some of them go, I'm doing a little more side to side. And I've already done a lot of side to side, obviously off camera, just jumping back and forth between a lot of them. And these two, the Sony SS-CS5 and the Jamo S803s, I felt like I needed to do a video of these two side by side. The DCMs, I'm not comparing with these just because typically they are much cheaper at around 80 to 85 bucks, and they have, not that they sound bad at all, they sound really good, but to me, that's always going to be the thing with audio, to me or to you, they have a much different sound signature than these two do. To me, they're a lot more neutral and flat. They still sound really good. You have to excuse my daughter's jumping on her bed upstairs. Where these, the Sonys and these Yamos, seem to have a much more live and clear sound. And the Pioneer BS22s, I didn't put those in because they're also cheaper, usually regularly cheaper, and they have a 4-inch woofer. Same thing with the DCMs. Those have a 6.5-inch woofer. These both have 5-inch woofers, and these are both ported. Yamos are obviously front ported. Sonys are rear ported. But these two speakers have more tangents with each other than the Pioneer BS22s and the DCMs, so I didn't feel like I needed to put those up here side by side. These two, when I listened to these two, separately, I'd have the Yamos in here for a couple days, then I'd switch out and put the Sonys in here for a couple days. I could just never make up my mind, which one I liked more, because I like them both a lot. And the Yamos, with all the hype and stuff, I had high hopes going into them, and they do sound really good, very bright, and I don't want to say boomy, but very I don't know, the bass is quite present and tight and fast, all the good stuff. I mean, so I'm like, what, I'm just gonna get some boards. I'm gonna put them side by side, and I'm not using the Behringer A800 anymore because I did my review on that. I just haven't uploaded it yet, but I did my review on it, so I get it boxed up and get it sent off to Audio Science Review so he can start tearing it apart, and so we can find out if that thing's any good or not. But in the meantime, now I have the Marantz being preamped by the Emotiva PT100. For this little shindig, I'm not using my computer. We're going straight off the disc. We're doing it old school here. I didn't want to use the computer just because I'm still tinkering around with different media players and stuff, and the music I'm playing, I actually don't think I have the CD. Well, I do have it ripped to my computer, I guess, but I'm using let's see, the Junk Poet Chicken All You Can Eat album, and it's just because it's a family band and I've had verbal permission to use the music on my channel. So, just to keep things easy here, I'm using my Sony, what is it? The NS999ES CD player. This is feeding coax into the Emotiva, and that is feeding signal into the main or preamp in on the Marantz here. And then I also have it set to, well, it's on the auxiliary input, but I also have it set to direct. And on the Marantz, the direct, what it does is it bypasses the bass and treble and any other. It's just a direct straight through. So we're going right from the CD player and through the Emotiva preamp DAC into the Marantz, and then I'm even using the same kind of speaker wire for both of them. So I'm just gonna play one song off this CD, and we're just gonna flip back and forth as we go through it. I'm sure you'll hear the difference. And to finish up, these are both listed as 87 decibel at 2.83 volt sensitivity The only main difference is the Sonys are 6 ohm, the Yamos are 8 ohm. I mean, obviously there's going to be some other differences, but that's the other thing too, is these have the same sensitivity, which I found a bit interesting. So, let's roll back up here real quick. The Yamos are going to be on, where's my finger? Speakers 1, Sonys are on speakers 2, and I'll start the song, and I'll come up here, and I'll just kind of jump back and forth between 1 and 2, and, you know, as the song goes through, excuse me, I probably won't say anything, just watch my fingers, I guess. The 2 is the Sonys, the 1 is the Yamos, and so yeah. Let's see. I think everyone's ready. All I gotta do is hit play, make sure my volume's set where I want it. Yep. All right, ready? All right. We're starting with the Yamos on. Okay. I sure hope you could hear the difference. I mean, I'm just recording this with my Galaxy S9, which has stereo speakers or microphones, but obviously this is not like a test to hear like every little bit of detail. You know, I don't have the microphones and stuff for that. The reason I after setting this up, I decided to actually do the video is because to me, when I switch between the Yamos and the Sonys, it is so noticeable. I'm almost certain you should be able to hear it through my phone through YouTube. I'm not expecting you guys to hear all the little nuances and detail and sound stage and separation and all those wonderful things that go with high-end audio. No. I'm assuming the Sonys are noticeably louder, most likely because they're 6 ohm and not 8 ohm. Now, that's not really an issue. 8 ohm's kind of an old school. I don't think there's really any reason speakers need to be 8 ohm. 4, 6, 8's all fine. Most amplifiers nowadays are fine with anything from 4 to 8 or sometimes even 16 ohm. And it's not just that the Sonys were noticeably, it's not that they're just louder, and it might just sound that way on the phone, but they sound so much more alive than the Yamos. And I could never really, draw a line between the two when I had them separately, because musical memory is very weak. So when you keep them separate, they both sound awesome. But when I put them side by side like this, doing A to B on the same song over and over, and I've been doing this over and over for this song over and over for quite a while, and I've listened to many other songs. I'm just not using those because I don't want to get the copyright crap. So I'm using a song that I can hopefully won't get copyright striked or whatever for, especially since I've had permission to use this music from the owner. But I use this song because the tone, the tune and the tone and just the rhythm or whatever of the guitar just, it's so dirty and emotional and one thing I really noticed when I switched from back and forth between the Yamos and the Yamos sound good and clear and everything, but that guitar, that deep, dirty guitar, I don't really feel it coming out of the Yamos. Like, I'm sitting somewhere out in the audience, because I've actually been sitting in the audience. I've been to many of Junk Poet's gigs, indoors and outdoors, and I've been in the studio or in their studio many times when they're practicing. I know exactly how these songs sound as much as I mentally can. And when I flip over to the Sonys, that deep, dirty grunge from the electric guitar, I can feel it more. It seems more alive and more realistic than it does in the low end of the Yamos. The high end, both of them are really good, but the Sonys, I still feel like the Sonys take the high end, because when I flip the Yamos, I get some, they have a good sound stage, and then the imaging where Fu, the singer, is right in front of me. I can sense him there. It's like he's there, but when I switch over to the Sonys and then back up, it's almost like I can feel the words coming out of his mouth at me out of the Sonys. It's just so much more robust and alive. And I'm literally blown away, because until I put these two side by side, I almost didn't even want to do it, because I thought for sure the Yamos they're gonna be better. And I'm actually almost, because I actually kind of planned on keeping the Yamos and selling the Sonys, but now I think it's starting to go the other way. I'm gonna do some more listening and stuff. But this song, out of I've listened to some Alice in Chains, Jar of Flies, and Unplugged, Nirvana Unplugged, and some Pink Floyd and some Adele and Alanis Morissette, and I've listened to a whole bunch of songs on these two side by side, and they both sound really good. But this song with Junk Poet, for some reason, it really separated the difference for me, and it's just crazy how much more alive and just vibrant the Sonys are. And I don't know. I feel like I'm going to piss everyone off because I still do like the Yamos and I still do recommend them. But right before I did this video, I went online double checking some of the specs on these. And right now, I think the Sonys are down to $100 right now on Amazon. They might even stay there or go cheaper for Christmas. But the only reason I stand by comparing these two is because the Sonys aren't always that price. A lot of times they will hang out around the $130 to $150 price tag. And the Yamos, you can still, I think the guy that's selling those on eBay for $125, I think he still has some for $125. Otherwise, there's other people selling them for, I think, $160 to $180. So as the prices kind of jump around with these guys as we approach the holiday season, I still feel they do kind of live in the same price range, just depending on the day and the week in the store. They've been jumping around a lot. But if I was gonna buy a pair of these for a friend right now, it would be the Sonys. Unfortunately, fortunately, whatever. If you already have the Jamo S803s, don't feel bad, because unless you're going to put them right next to the Sonys or some other speakers and sit here and compare them, you'll never know the difference. Like I said, when I had these separated day to day or week to week, they both sounded awesome. But when it come down to it, I just, I had to be able to put my finger on it. I had to know, I had to put them side by side and A/B them, and that really just exposed it for me. And I know Z gave, Zeos from Z Reviews, gave the Jamo S803s a outstanding, super hyped review, but he also gave the Sony SS-CS5s a really good review. Yeah, and I think both these speakers they punch above their belt. Not to say that the DCMs or the Pioneers aren't good, because those are also very good. But if you're on a fence right now or in the future looking for some good used speakers, you're on a fence between these two and you really have no bias towards either brand or the aesthetics, I would have to say go with the Sonys. Now, if there's other factors in, like aesthetics, if you like the Jamo, the really clean, modernistic style, whatever, they're definitely a winner there. After I put them side by side and I've done my cherry wrap mod on the Sonys, I re-wrapped them in this nice cherry veneer. When they were all black, I would definitely say the Yamos were better, but now that I've re-wrapped the Sonys, I actually like the look of the Sonys better. And it might, I don't know if you want to call it unfair or not, the Sonys are technically a three-way, because the woofer is, I can't remember, but I think it's crossing over to the tweeter around $2,000. And then if I remember right, the tweeter is crossing over to the super tweeter around $12,000 or so. So even though the super tweeter is going up to, I don't know, 40, 50,000 hertz that you will never hear off a CD or more or less a record or any streaming, because I already said it in Sony's video, it's kind of silly that they do a super tweeter that goes that high, because anyone that's going to build a system around, I don't know if you want to call it ultrasonic or the super high frequencies like that, are going to spend more money than, $100 on some bookshelf speakers. And even then, it's arguable that having, like a DSD or super audio CD that plays up to 50,000 hertz or something is necessary. But it is good that if this really is crossing over at 12,000, it is narrowing the scope that the tweeter has to deal with, making its job just a little bit easier. This is taking just a little bit of stress off that tweeter. So I hope I didn't piss anyone off too bad. It's just, if you got Jamo S803s and you love them, continue to love them and like them. If you got the Sonys, same thing. But if you're on the fence right now and you haven't purchased either, my opinion, and I hope you guys could hear it in this video, I would go with the Sonys. So, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out and listening to these speakers with me side by side. So, it's late. I'm tired, as usual. Good night.